solve absolute value equations. So for our warm-up, I want to get this all by itself, those absolute value bars, right? So I need to subtract the 3. Then I have 1/2 times the absolute value of x plus 4 equals 4. Now what? Good. Either divide by 1/2 or you multiply by the reciprocal, which is 2. 2 over 1, which is 2, right? And then that goes away. And then we have the absolute value of x plus 4 equals 8. Do you agree? Okay. So now drop the bars and write it twice. Excuse me. So we do that because now we have the absolute value all by itself. So then we have x plus 4 equals 8, and x plus 4 equals negative 8. Let's solve it. Minus the 4, x equals 4 here, or x equals negative 12. Did we get this? Yeah? Good. Perfect. So now let's check our homework. There we go. Homework answers. If you didn't get, the problem right, or if you didn't do it yet, okay, because you're kind of like, oh, I'm skipping this one. Shouldn't skip problems. But if you did, write down the answer so that when you go back and you do this, then you know if you did it right or not. Right, Tom? Okay. All right. Remember, I only give you credit if you show your work. So I don't care if you guys write down the answer so that you can check. So on homework F, we're going to do 1, 4, 7, and 9. Okay, so number 1, absolute value of negative 2x equals 12. So remember, my goal is to get the absolute value bars all by itself. This one already is. So we're going to drop the bars and write it twice. So now we have negative 2x equals 12. The second one is going to be negative 2x equals what? Negative 12. Good. So then let's solve this. Divide by negative 2. X equals negative 6. Divide by negative 2. Get x equals 6. Okay? Uh-oh. As long as you know what you did now, right? Number 4, we have the absolute value of 2w plus 1 equals 5. Yes? Okay. So I want to get the absolute value bars all by itself. This one is, right? So I'm going to drop the bars and write it twice. The first one is 2w plus 1 equals 5. The second one is 2w plus 1 equals negative 5. Good. So I'm going to solve 2w equals 4 divided by 2. Now w equals 2. Same thing, subtract the 1. 2w equals negative 6. Divided by 2. W equals negative 3. Okay? Are we okay with these? Yeah? All right. So let's look at number 7 and 9. So number 7 on the back, it says absolute value of 2x minus 2 equals 4. All right, so remember your goal is to get the absolute value bars all by itself on one side of the equal sign. This one is. All right, so I'm going to drop the bars and write it twice. 2x minus 2 equals 4. The second one is 2x minus 2 equals negative 4. All right, so now I'm going to solve this. Let's add the 2 first. So 2x equals 6. And then divide it by 2. So then you have x equals 3. Add add the 2. 2x equals negative 2. Divided by 2. What's negative 2 divided by 2? Negative 1. Right? So is x equals 3 or x equals negative 1? Questions? All right. Let's do number 9. 7 times the absolute value of 4w plus 3, and then minus the 2. Okay, all right, so this one is just like a couple more steps, right? So remember, you want to get the absolute value bars all by itself, you need to add the 2 first. So then we have 7 times the absolute value of 4w plus 3 equals 7. Now what?
Yes, the 7 goes.
Yeah, how do you make that 7 go away? Not subtract, because they're multiplying here. You need to divide. Good. So then you have the absolute value of 4w plus 3 equals 1. Yeah?
And then you drop the 2 bars.
Good. Drop the bars and write it twice. So then you have 4w plus 3 equals 1. And 4w plus 3 equals negative 1. Good. Minus the 3. 4w equals negative 2. Now we divide it by 4. And then we get w equals, guys, what's negative 2 over 4? Negative 1/2, right? I know it gives you a decimal, but can we leave it as a fraction? Remember in your calculators you can hit math, enter, enter.
Yeah.
Subtract the 3, we get 4w equals negative 4. Divided by 4, so w equals negative 1. Okay? So then we get 2 answers. That means it could be w equals negative 1/2 or w equals negative 1. All right? All right, guys, today we're going to talk about solving absolute value inequalities. Okay? So if you guys look up at the top of your notes, let's just review. Let's review solving absolute value equations, what we did last time. Last time we had equal signs, right? So if I look at A, my goal is to get the absolute value bars all by itself. Is this already all by itself on one side? Yes. So you want to drop the bars and write it twice. So you get negative 4x minus 2 equals 10. And then you get negative 4x minus 2 equals negative 10. Super. And then let's solve this. Got to add the 2 first. So you get negative 4x equals 12. Now what?
Divide.
Good. Divide by negative 4. And you get x equals? Okay, negative 3. All right, so we have x equals negative 3. Or, let's solve the other one. Add the 2. So now we have negative 4x equals negative 10 plus 2. Negative 8. Divide by negative 4. X equals 2. So there we go. There are my 2 answers for that one. Let's look at B. So for B, I need to get the absolute value bars all by itself, right there. What do I need to do first? Good. Perfect, guys. Subtract the 3. Then I have 2 times the absolute value of 2x minus 5 equals 4. Yes? Now what? Divide by 2. So then we have the absolute value of 2x minus 5 equals 2. Now that we have the absolute value all by itself, I'm going to drop the bars and write it twice. So 2x minus 5 equals 2, and the second one is going to be
2x minus 5 equals negative 2.
super, thank you. 2x minus 5 equals negative 2, and then let's solve this. Add the 5. So now you have 2x equals 7. Divide by 2. So x equals 7 halves. And you know, just keep it as a fraction. Alright. And on the other side, add the 5. So you have 2x equals negative 3. And then when you divide it by 2, x equals negative 3 halves. Alright, so now let's look at what we're doing today. We're going to be solving absolute value inequalities. And remember, an inequality is when you have these guys. Less than or equal to. Or we have greater than or equal to. Alright? So the thing is, the steps are all the same. They're still the same as what we were doing before. You want to get the absolute value all by itself. This guy, right? So right now I need to subtract the 3. Okay. Then I have the absolute value of x is greater than 3. Okay. Alright, so now that I have the absolute value all by itself, we're going to drop the bars and write it twice. So the first one, it says right here, stays exactly the same. So it's x is greater than 3. Right? And for the second one, they tell you the sign of the number switches and the inequality sign also switches. So now it becomes x is less than, what kind of 3? Negative 3. Okay? Here's the thing, guys. Whenever you have these inequalities, you have to tell me if it's an or if it's an and. All right? And several years ago, I think that if you think about it this way, I hope this helps. You have to go back and look at the sign right where you did the drop the bars and write it twice. Okay? What is the sign? Less than or greater?
Greater than.
Greater than? Okay, so it's great or. So this is an or. Yeah? And if it was less than, it would be less than and. Okay? If you have less than, then it's an and. Greater, greater, it's an or. Okay? I know it's silly. You guys are looking at me like, but I hope that helps you. Okay?
Yeah.
So this one's a greater, so it's an or. So when I go to write my equation, my two answers, I have x is greater than 3 or x is less than negative 3. You see that? Now you have some extra steps here. With inequalities, we need to graph it on the number line, and we have to say the interval and the set builder notation, okay? So, graphing it. Guys, remember back to like the first lesson. If it's an or graph, show me with your thumbs. Does it go in or does it go out? Or. Or goes out, right? Because it starts with an O. They both start with an O. Out. Okay. So let's see. 3 and negative 3. Say negative 3 is further left, right? And 3 can be over here. X is greater than 3. What kind of a circle at 3?
Open.
Open. So I have to put an open circle, and since it's greater, okay, it's going out. How about x is less than negative 3?
So.
Still open. And this time we have to go to the left because it's less than, right? Does your graph look like an or? Yeah, right? Because they're going out. Okay. So now let's talk about the set builder notation. Okay. So I'm going to put my curly braces, X bar, and then you're just going to put your answers in there. So my answers were what? X is greater than 3 or X is less than negative 3. You got to tell me or and, okay? Now let's talk about the interval notation. Remember I told you we start this graph, we start looking at the graph from the left to the right, yes? If I have arrows, I have infinities. If I have an arrow going to the left, it's negative infinity. If I have an arrow going to the right, then it's positive infinity. Do you agree? Okay, so I have an arrow going to the left. Where's this going? Yeah, it's going to negative infinity. So negative infinity, and then it goes to where? Negative 3. Is that a parentheses or is it a bracket?
Parentheses.
Why parentheses?
Not closed circle.
Because it's an open circle. Good. All right. But then look, it jumps over here to what number? 3. Parentheses 3 because it's an open circle, and then it goes all the way to what? Infinity because there's an arrow going to the right. Good. And remember, infinity and negative infinity always get parentheses. Perfect. Guys, remember, if you have two intervals like this, you need to connect them with the little u. Union, right? All right, questions about this? Okay. Let's go on to the next one. Let's try example 1. All right, guys, absolute value. Is it all by itself?
Yes.
Yes, so I'm going to drop the bars, write it twice. First one looks exactly the same. X plus 4, less than or equal to 3. Second one is x plus 4. What do we do with the sign? Greater than or equal to? Negative 3. Good. You switch the sign, make the number the opposite, right? All right, and then let's solve. Subtract the 4. You get x is less than or equal to negative 1. Yeah? Subtract the 4 on the other side. You get x is greater than or equal to negative 7. Is this an and or an or? Let me see. Go back to that inequality where you did the drop the bars and write it twice. Ethan says it's an and. Who agrees? Abner agrees. Tom, Sabrina, Tilman, Kevin? What do you think? Is it an and or an or? Good. This is a less than and, right? If only my voice would go down a little bit deeper, I think it would have a more dramatic effect. What do you think? Less than. No, Abner? I'm getting there. It's a struggle. It's a struggle. All right. So since it's and, am I gonna have arrows? I shouldn't. They should connect, right? Well, let's see. X is greater than or equal to negative 7. Close circle, right? Greater. X is less than or equal to negative 1. Close circle. Less than. Oh, good. This does look like an and graph. Now, I want to go and do my set builder notation because I think that's a little bit easier. I'll get that out of the way. curly braces, X bar. Sorry, I'm just writing it really big because I just can't fit it in there. Sorry. Okay, then your answers go in, your solutions, right? X is less than or equal to -1, and X is greater than or equal to -7. Done! Then we have to do the interval notation, right? So interval notation, remember we're starting from the left. I don't have arrows, so I don't have to worry about the infinity, right? Where does my graph start? -7, okay? And that's a closed circle, so it gets bracket. So -7 with a bracket. And then it goes to what number? -1. Also a bracket because that's a closed circle on -1 as well. And now we're all done with this problem. Any questions? Easy? Oh no. Okay, you know what? Try the next one, guys. Get a head start on the next one. Good. I'm glad you think it's alright, since most of you guys got a head start, I have to divide by 2 first, yes? Then this turns into absolute value of x plus 3 greater than or equal to 2. Right? Drop the bars, write it twice. X plus 3 is greater than or equal to 2. Remember, the first one looks exactly the same. But the second one, x plus 3 is less than or equal to -2. Flip the sign, make the number the opposite, right? Alright, now I'm going to subtract the 3. X is greater than or equal to -1. Subtract the 3. X is less than or equal to -5. Now, question. Is this an and or an or? What is that sign right there? Huh? It's greater. Greater. Did you hear that, Abner? Right? Great or. This is an or. Okay? Alright. So, I need to go graph this. -5 is further left than -1, right? What kind of circles do they both get? Closed. So x is less than or equal to -5 that way. X is greater than or equal to -1 is to the right. Right? Now, set builder notation. X bar. My two solutions, so x is greater than or equal to -1 or x is less than or equal to -5. Right? Now my interval notation, I have an arrow going all the way to the left. Where is this going? Which one? Negative infinity, thank you. So I'm going from negative infinity all the way to what number? -5. Okay, so the negative infinity gets parentheses. That -5 gets a what? Bracket, because it's a closed circle. And then it jumps over to -1. So I have to put a little u. And the -1 gets a what? Parentheses or bracket? Parentheses? Bracket, because it's a closed circle. And then it goes out to infinity because there's a right arrow. Are you guys okay with this one? Alright, good. Are you guys making corrections? Good. Alright, let's try the next one. Guys, you should be able to do this one too. I want to get the absolute value bars all by itself, so I I need to add the 4 first. Absolute value of 4x plus 4 is less than 6. So here I'm going to drop the bars and write it twice. So you should have 4x plus 4 is less than 6. 4x plus 4 is greater than negative 6. Yes? And then I need to solve for my x's minus the 4. Oops. There we go. 4x is less than 2. Divide by 4. X is less than 1/2. Right? Kevin, make sure I'm doing this right, okay? I'm starting to get a little cross-eyed up here. Divided by 4. X is greater than negative 5/2. So, who can tell me, what is this? Is this an and or an or? Huh? Which one? And. Ethan says and. Kevin says and. And. Because if we go back and look at this guy, that's a less than. Right? It's getting better. It's a work in progress. So this is an and. Alright, so I have negative 5/2 over here, and I have 1/2 over there. What kind of circles do they both get? Open or closed? Open, yeah. Open and open. Look at that. X is greater than 1/2. Who just pushed this? Alright? You are far away from it. I don't understand. Alright, so the set builder notation for this guy, X bar, and then your two answers. X is less than 1/2 and X is greater than negative 5/2. I really don't care about the order as long as you guys have the right solutions and the and or, okay? Interval notation. Guys, am I going to have parentheses here? No. Good. So what number does this graph start at? Yeah, negative 5/2. What does that get? Parentheses or bracket? Good, thank you. And it goes all the way to what number? 1/2. And 1/2 also gets a parentheses because that is an open circle. And you know this negative doesn't really look too much like a negative. Right. There. Questions about this? Okay. Oh no. Okay, so this one's interesting. If you already worked ahead, make sure that you get the same thing we have. Alright? So this guy, I need to divide by -3. Do you agree? Okay. Guys, what happens to the inequality when you divide by a negative? What happens to this guy? When you divide by a negative, you must flip your inequality. So even before we do the drop the bars, write it twice, we need to flip our inequality. Okay, and then -9 divided by -3 gives me a +3. Right? So now this is where we drop the bars and write it twice. So it's weird. Since we divided it by a negative, it kind of changed our problem, right? So then now we have x minus 4 is less than or equal to 3, and x minus 4 is greater than or equal to negative 3. And then let's solve it the same way. It's the same way that we've been doing this before. Add the 4. Now, here's the question for you guys. Is it and or is it or? But which one do you look at? Do you look at the original problem or do you look at it from where you dropped the bars and wrote it twice? Good. Good. You have to look at it from where you dropped the bars and wrote it twice. That's a less than. So this is an and, right? You see that? If you used your original, you would say, oh, that's greater, it's or. No, you got to go to where you dropped the bars and wrote it twice. Okay? All right, so the step builder notation, curly, got the braces, x bar, x is less than or equal to 7, and x is greater than or equal to 1. Oh, so that means 1's over here, 7's over here. And means that they should be connecting, right? Let's see. X is greater than or equal to 1, closed. Less than or equal to 7, closed. And there we go. Okay? So this goes from, where does my graph start? 1 with the bracket because it's a closed circle, all the way up to 7 with a bracket because it's a closed circle. Okay? Questions? All right. Let's look at the next one then. C. All right. Let's try this. I think most of you guys are ahead of me. All right, if I want to get this all by itself, I need to add the 5. Let me move a little bit faster. Keep up with you guys. So now I have the absolute value of negative 2x plus 7 is greater than 7. Yes? Drop the bars, write it twice. So now I have negative 2x plus 7 is greater than 7. And negative 2x plus 7 is less than negative 7. Yeah? Subtract the 7. Negative 2x is greater than, wait, what's 7 minus 7? 0. Okay. How do I solve for this x? Yeah, divide by negative 2. What's 0 divided by negative 2? 0. All right, so for one of my answers, I have x is greater than 0. All right, let me solve the other one. Subtract 7. Now I have negative 2x less than, what is this? Oh, negative 14. Hold on. Wait a minute. Look at this. Hold on. If I divide by a negative number, what did I say you have to do? You gotta switch the sign. So this is actually x is less than 0. What? So then over here, when I have negative 2x is less than negative 14, when I divide by negative 2, I get x is what? Less than? Greater than? This less than turns into a greater than 7. right? You got to flip the sign because you're dividing it by a negative. Now, is this an and or an or? Or? Go back and look here, guys. What is that? Greater. An or. Yeah? So this should have the infinities, right? Okay, step builder notation. X bar. X is less than 0 or X is greater than 7. And then if I graph it, I have 0 here, I got 7 here. Less than 0, so open circle to the left from 0. X is greater than 7, so open circle and to the right of 7. Good. This looks like an or out graph, right? Now, what is my interval notation? Stop spacing out. What is my interval notation? I'm starting from the left. I have an arrow going to the left. Negative infinity to 0, and they both get good. With a little u, because it jumps over and it starts again at 7 to infinity. And Sabrina, what do these two get? Thank you. Great job, guys. Doing such a great job. Can we look at the next one? Okay. Look at letter D. You guys want to try it? Rephrase. You guys tried it! Any of you guys are several steps ahead, so I'm going to just put my work up so you guys can check on the way, along the way. You know what I've noticed? Some of you guys are not writing your absolute value sign. Okay? Do that so you know where to drop the bars and write it twice. Okay? Please remember, absolute value, you need to have 2 answers. So subtract the 10, you get x is less than or equal to negative 3. And then you also get x is greater than or equal to negative 17. Is this an and or an or? And, good, because this is a less than. No, because did you divide or multiply by a negative number? No. All right, so we have negative 17 over here. We got negative 3 over there. X is less than or equal to negative 3. Greater than or equal to negative 17. There we go. Right? Okay, step builder. Braces, X bar. Right? And then my interval notation. Remember, look at this graph. From the left, this starts at negative 17. And it goes all the way to negative 3. Kevin, what notation do both of those get? Bracket, because they are both closed circles. Good. All right, questions? All right. Ooh. E. There you go. I'm sorry. You want me to go back for a second? All right. So the letter E. You know what? I see a lot of students getting this wrong. Why? What do you think is the most common mistake that students would make on this when they're trying to solve? That 8 plus 2, right? I see a lot of students. What do you think they do? Well, you know what? A lot of them subtract the 2, but you can't. Because that 2 is multiplying with the absolute value. What's the thing you have to subtract?
Eight.
The 8. You gotta minus that 8 out of there, not the 2. The 2 is multiplying.
You can't have 10 then.
What?
You can't make that 10.
No, you're not dividing by 2. No, not yet. You gotta subtract the 8 first. So now you have 2 times the absolute value of 3x is greater than 12. Now you need to divide it by 2. Am I dividing by a negative number?
No, you don't have to switch it.
I don't have to switch it. Good. So then this becomes the absolute value of 3x is greater than 6. And then here, I need to drop the bars and write it twice. So 3x is greater than 6, and 3x is less than negative 6. Divided by 3. X is greater than 2. Divided by 3. X is less than negative 2. All right. Is this an and or an or? Or? Good. Sabrina has got this. With the signs, if you guys have any questions, ask Sabrina about the signs. I guess you could ask me too. No? No. Okay. So let's graph this. Since it's or, you should have arrows, right? Negative 2 and 2. What kind of circles do they both have? X is less than negative 2. X is greater than positive 2. There we go. Super. Set builder. Oh, not less than or equal to. I'm sorry. What's happening? All the same order there. All right, so what about my interval notation? What do I start with? I have an arrow coming from the left. Where did that go? Negative infinity. All the way to negative 2. Parentheses, right? And then you jump. You have more. You got to put a little u. And then this parentheses 2 to infinity. All done? One more? Okay, one more. Guys, I want you to try this. How do you get rid of that fraction?
Multiply by a reciprocal.
Super. Okay, do this, please. All right, so with this guy, let's see. I need to multiply by 2 on both sides. Yes? Then I get the absolute value of negative x minus 7 is greater than or equal to 12. Now, I need to drop the bars, write it twice. Negative x minus 7 is greater than 12. And then negative x minus 7 is less than or equal to negative 12. Right? Split. Oh. Forgot to do the what? The flip the sign on the second one? Oh no. Do you want a color pencil so you can do it in color? Yeah? Guys, if you... Alright. And then we have to solve. Add the 7. So we have negative x is greater than or equal to 19. Can I leave this as a negative x? No. What do I need to do? Dividing by a what? Negative 1. Oh no, when you divide by negative, what happens? You need to flip the sign. Right? And then, so the second one here, add the 7. Negative x is less than or equal to, what is this, negative 5? Divide by negative 1. Uh-oh, when I divide, x is greater than or equal to 5. Yes? Alright, so I need to say if it's an and or an or.
Or 91.
Huh? No, you go back to where you dropped the bars and you wrote it twice. What is this? It's an or because it's a great or. Alright, so let's graph it. Negative 19 here, 5 over here, less than or equal to negative 19, greater than or equal to 5. There we go, looks like an or graph. Now I'm going to do the set builder notation. And then I have my interval notation. Negative infinity to negative 19. Guys, a negative 19 gets a what? Close, so it gets a bracket. And then you got a U. You have another bracket with a 5. And then that goes all the way out to parentheses, yes? Okay. All right, questions? Okay, so I have a couple of very, very important announcements for you. First off, next class, you have a mini quiz. Mini quiz, yep, we're still recording. You have a mini quiz next class. Huh? No, 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 no. I want to make sure the important dates. Mini quiz next class. Okay? And this is stated on your assignment sheet. Here are a couple of other dates. If you guys have your planners and that's where you guys keep all your assignment due dates, take that out. If you put it into your phone, okay, you can put this into your phone, all right? Take home mini quiz 2. I'm going to give that to you. This is the yellow sheet. All right? And look, I'm going to write it in this blinding yellow, okay?
I can't even see that.
Well, you know, that's just ridiculous. Yellow, okay? This yellow sheet. The mini quiz 2, I wasn't very happy with all the grades. All right? I think that you guys can do better. The thing is, I want you guys to take this take-home quiz, work on it, and turn it into me. September 30th, which is this Friday. Okay? So if you have me on a red day, it's due September 30th. If you have me on a black day, it's due on Thursday. September 29th, because they already got it. Okay? All right, so your tests. I'm going to give you your tests back. Your test corrections. All right? Couple of things, guys. You need to do test corrections on the test correction sheet. All right? Just do the problems that you got wrong. But you need to show me all your work. okay? And you can get up to half of the points that you missed back, back onto the test. I need your test correction sheet stapled on top of your test. So when you go to turn this into me, I need your test with it. Yes? All right. So for red days, your test corrections are due October 12th. I always give you at least 2 weeks. I try to give you like 2 weeks to get it done. All right. And for black days,
Can you return it early?
is due October 11th. Yes, absolutely. If you turn it in early, it's even better. Of course. You can come and get help from me. You can go, to anyone else you like. You want to use your notes, that's fine. Okay? All right.
Yeah,